Let's bring in back our panel now to talk a little bit more about this. Our co-host today, Joe Pags, I want to go to you first. What do you think about the closing argument and what we were just discussing? Did the former president of the United States purposely incite an insurrection that caused this to happen at the Capitol? Because that's the bottom line here.
No. And the reason I say no is because in my 54 years, I'd never heard the word insurrection so much in my life. They keep on saying the word insurrection as if you say it a bunch of times, it's going to mean that it actually happened. I wasn't that aware of Jamie Raskin before yesterday or the day before when he was very good at crying and being emotional and being, listen, the guy memorized what he had to say, did much better than the Republican lawyer without a doubt. But I also know that Jamie Raskin that 4 years ago challenged 10 electors in Florida. He did that on January 6th, 2017, which is constitutionally allowed. He did that very thing. And now he's completely against what happened on January 6th. Nobody on either side that I know of and that you've ever talked to agrees with rioting at the Capitol. Nobody agrees with breaking in and breaking the law. All those people face the music. So the idea that he somehow incited an insurrection is a lie. And as the professor said earlier, and as you guys have reported, the president said, I know you're going to go and peacefully and patriotically have your voices heard. I urge you to march down to the Capitol and cheer on the senators and the congressmen and congresswomen to do the right thing. He incited nothing. The man went out there and spoke to a bunch of people who were rallying in favor of making sure the election was fair and free. And you and I can say insurrection until we're blue in the face. It doesn't make it so. And one last thing, if you don't mind. I now know the definition of common sense. It turns out it's the sense that is common. Thank you, Jamie Raskin. I had no clue.
And I'll go back to you now, Stacy, just with these arguments wrapping up and with the former president's legal team expected to begin theirs tomorrow. And we're also being told that they are expected to wrap up by tomorrow evening their arguments. What should they tackle first? Should they answer any of these questions that Representative Raskin had for them in his closing arguments?
No. No, they shouldn't. They should come in with their own agenda, Heather. And I got to tell you, as I've caught your coverage this week here on Newsmax, what the president's lawyers should be doing is reviewing some of this Newsmax footage for some ideas on direction if they don't already have their game plan in order. And that is, the American people want to hear a common sense explanation for why this whole thing is a waste of time. The poll numbers show, the viewership numbers show that Americans aren't paying attention, and Democrats are actually freaking out about that. They're wondering, why is no one watching the impeachment? Why doesn't anyone care? Well, we care, but we also care about things that are far more important right now, and we've covered that too. So I think the most important thing for them to tackle tomorrow is why the president has every right to express himself under the First Amendment, even as the president, why people are responsible for their own actions, a simple statement, in fact, to reaffirm that he did not agree with what happened on the 6th, and that others have made the same statements and never, ever been accused of inciting riots or violence. And then they closed the case because that's the logical conclusion. As Jamie Raskin said, we all have common sense. We'll hear that, we'll understand, and we can move on.
You know, Isabel, one of the things that strikes me, I think the Democrats, as far as appealing to the public, might have been better off ending their argument yesterday. Because, to be honest, we've dipped in and out of it. I've seen quite a bit of it. I don't know what they accomplished today.
Bob, I completely agree. And I think you hit the nail right on the head discussing this emotional argument and appealing to people watching yesterday, whereas today was rehashing a lot of the same information and sort of providing the same argument over and over again. I have to say, watching this testimony from Jamie Raskin in real time beautifully illustrated the problem that almost every American has with politicians. And that's that they're very good at saying things that sound very good, but lack actual true meaning. And I found it so ironic and honestly just such a slap in the face to American voters to be talking about common sense when true common sense would be the United States Senate actually focusing on things that would help the American people rather than rehashing the exact same argument against President Trump that we've seen for the last 4 years. I also find it very interesting that he touched on the Senate's commitment to being constitutional in this process and that the Senate has already ruled on whether or not this is constitutional, when that's not the United States Senate's job to begin with. There's been zero judicial review of this process, and ultimately the American people deserve that review to take place.
Yeah, and that's definitely what we expect, some of what we expect to hear from the former president's attorneys tomorrow as they begin their part of
Heather, have you got 10
this.
seconds?
Yeah,
Have you got 10 seconds?
literally 10 seconds.
And I'll give you that. There has been judicial review. The Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court said, I'm not going to preside. He has made his decision.
That's a good point.
Yes, and we haven't even talked a lot about that. Perhaps after this break, we will tackle that. Coming up, we're also going to tackle this. Where is the GOP leadership in all of this? Where is Mitch McConnell? Where are all the others? They're sending some mixed signals, and we're going to talk about that with more of American Agenda after this. Stay with us.